You said that Europe, relative to the US, is of value. When you begin to see this guidance that we're getting in for this quarter, what's going to be most important for you?
I mean, we are still very early in the reporting season, but I think expectations are very low for earnings in Q3. The question is whether some of the kind of European bellwether, like financials, domestic plays, will keep under delivering as they did in the last few quarters or not. And I think there is little reason to expect a great quarter, but the point is into the end of the year, if the uncertainty goes away, I think we could see some improvement on the domestic sectors. I would say financials in the US have been starting the season on a very strong note, and I would expect financials in Europe maybe to be able to deliver some relatively good earnings compared to very low expectations as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were looking a little while ago about how there hasn't been much dispersion between European equities. There's been a lot of movement on sentiment, which you pointed to earlier. Are earnings going to matter more for European equities beyond this quarter?
Yeah, I would think so. I think the valuation case for Europe is very clear. The question is whether there is something to unlock this cheapness. And I think the earnings have been very subdued in Europe pretty much for the last 10 years compared to the US, partly because a lot of domestic sectors have been hurt by bad politics, by weaker macro, by tough regulation. And I think the question into next year is whether there is a case for European earnings to start picking up. And I would believe that if you have improvement on the trade front, improvement on China, and we have seen Chinese PMIs, Chinese data flow getting slightly better in the last few months. If you see EM, Chinese backdrop starting to pick up again, that could help a lot European earnings. And at the same time, if some of the negativity around Brexit, around domestic politics goes away, I think the macro sentiment could improve and start to support domestic exposure areas like financials in particular.